Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Steven Universe episode review. This one is going to be for episode 8 and 9, the double part episode, Gem Harvest. So this is the second kind of extended, double length episode we've had in the series after Bismuth. And obviously the question is, how did it stack up against one of the episodes that is rated as, I think for most people, one of the best of the entire series, if not potentially the best in Bismuth. And for me, the immediate thing I had after this episode was, why did they choose to make this only the second double-length episode in the series? The second 22-minute episode in the series that was written as a 22-minute episode, and not just two episodes that are 11 minutes put together. I don't really get why this one was chosen. I get that it's meant to be sort of like a Thanksgiving special or whatever because of the scene at the end at the dinner table. But I don't think kind of like holiday special anymore in like TV shows really needs to be a thing. The question with this season 4 so far, continues to be, where is the plot in the show? When is stuff actually going to happen that is, meaningful to the plot? I still think this was a fun episode. Obviously getting to meet a new member of Steve and Greg's family, and the gem interactions were very good because we got to see basically the entirety of our kind of main cast in terms of the gems together for the first time in a while. If there's any criticism of like season 3, it's that they very much like separated most of the gems for most of the episodes, so we haven't really got a chance to see them all interact kind of together so much. So just seeing the original group of gems with Lapis and Peridot as well was definitely fun throughout the episode. It's just, what this episode ended up being was all just a lot of fun, nice, some emotional moments, but by the end of it you're like, what was the payoff of this episode? And it was like, okay, we now know Steven's cousin Andy and some allusions to stuff that has happened in the family, but it's not meant to be overly important. It was just highlighting the fact that Greg kind of lives kind of separated from the family, and Andy's really the only one that really takes huge issue with that. It was interesting, seeing kind of Andy as like a character who is unaware of the gems, kind of just instantly being presented with the gems. No attempt to hide powers, to hide who they are or what they are, just very much directly presenting that to him without kind of going into crazy depth in terms of explaining what they are, and just seeing him react to the fact that, oh, like one of his cousins has like a kid with one of these things, and they've kind of become a family, and it's different than the type of family that he knows. It made for an interesting thing in that obviously the kind of the theme of the episode was change, and for him seeing this different type of family initially kind of startled him, and he wasn't sure what to feel about it, and obviously all these things that he wanted kind of kept going wrong, and the gems kept making mistakes because they're not humans and so on. But I think the episode lacked a proper core to it, because it very much felt like probably the best type of episode that was similar to ones like the whole Mr. Smiley, Mr. Frowny episode, in that you're introducing a new character, but this one has a little bit more impact than like Mr. Frowny and stuff like that. Sorry about that. Down you go. You have more. This character had more impact because he's a member of Steven's family and because of the little reveals that came out, but it still didn't feel like huge. Like there wasn't any huge reveal about the family or anything like that. Not that there needed to be. It's just that they hyped up a big episode about a family member arriving back, and it didn't really do as much as you would maybe expect. And I think that's the reason. Like by the end of this episode, do I really want to see Andy come back again in episodes? Not especially. Like maybe once or twice would be fun, but I'm not eager to get this guy back because I don't feel he really adds a lot to the series overall. As I said, fun reveals like the fact that Greg's the family name that he comes from is DeMaio is okay, cool, it's basically Stephen DeMaio and Greg DeMaio. But Greg does say that he actually did, like, basically officially have his name changed. So while the universe isn't the family name as such, Greg has changed it, and that is his official name. And so Stephen's name is actually Steven Universe. So that is what has happened. I could have seen this episode being good if they'd maybe like showed flashback to like some sort of a rift in the family, like created potentially when Greg left, and done something that way. But again, it was a kind of like they didn't show and tell. Instead, they told and didn't show us, and obviously that creates a few issues in that we don't really get the full context for everything, because you're mentioning all these other kind of family members by name, and you're mentioning stuff that has happened without actually kind of showing us what happened and really getting across the real emotional impact. And that's just the problem with this episode. It felt a little flat. That it really, by the end, is like, oh, this is what you're trying to do. It's just a Thanksgiving episode. The whole aim of the episode was just to get them all at the table, thanking each other, and have a little bit of an arc with Andy, and have Steven be the one to bring him back, of course, because Steven always goes to talk to the character and help them through the things, and they come back. It eventually just came around to the same usual kind of fillery, like Steven Universe episode thing that we get in the end, of Steven being able to talk his way out of problems for the most part. So there was that. What I did like about the episode was that I think the Gems kind of character interactions were very fun this episode. I think the Lapis and Peridot stuff in this episode was really, really good, because every time we kind of come back to them they are more and more comfortable around each other, on Earth, and interacting with everyone else. So just seeing them kind of starting to grow plants, but like not understanding like that you're actually not growing living things, because that's kind of a misunderstanding, and that gems are grown and they come to life, but Steven is the one who actually has the power to make things come to life, and you get the whole pumpkin dog thing. And the scene at the table I thought was really interesting, because that was the scene that really highlighted how comfortable Lapis and Peridot are now around everyone else, the other gems and so on. That Lapis, especially like in previous episodes, has always said that like Steven is the one that she's friends with, and she doesn't really care that much about the other gems, but has grown to become somewhat attached to Peridot. But now she actually seems fairly okay with the other ones, and then Peridot, of course, has a better relationship with them because of the whole arc of getting her on their side, and so she has a certain friendship with Pearl because they're kind of the two kind of inventor type people, and Peridot especially is very comfortable around everyone else, and Lapis, who's usually kind of quite reserved, was much more open to talking in this episode as well, and helping Steven with his problems. And then, just in general, like all of the gems attempting to kind of act like a family. And I think the scene at the table did work, because you had kind of Andy there in this moment of like, okay, they're talking about stuff I have no idea what they're talking about, but they are talking like a family. They all really know each other. They've been through a lot together, and clearly they're all very thankful for each other. This is sort of like the way an actual family would interact. I just have no idea what they're talking about. And so he kind of went to leave, and you know, you got some stuff in the plane at the end. But as I said, not the greatest episode. I think part of the problem with this episode actually is just that we haven't had a plot really focused episode this season yet, and I think everyone is at the stage where like we want to know what's happening next. Where are we leading towards? We've had enough of this stuff with like Onion and Mr. Frowny, Smiley and stuff like that. Please bring the plot back. It's really becoming the issue with this show that it's just so inconsistent about when it is plot focused and when it's not plot focused, and you really don't have an idea where the show is kind of going. You know, they're not really hinting at anything going forward right now. None of the episodes so far have really suggested anything, and it's a bit frustrating for sure to be watching these episodes, especially now that we've got our second double-length episode, and it's this. you really sort of have to question some of those writing decisions, in that when we get to the plot this season and we get an episode that's like really rushed or something like that, or if it could have used more time, I think we're going to have to start questioning stuff like, why did they choose to make that episode double length but not this one? Could they not have given more time to this one? And it's going to be really interesting to see how the overall, by the end of this season, how the overall writing intent actually works out. In that, as I said, have they devoted too much time to this kind of very kind of personal, fillery Beach City episodes on the kind of more family-focused stuff, and have they actually given enough time to the plot? But we'll have to wait and see on that, of course. But yeah, just it's one of those episodes where, like, I think the idea of introducing a member of Greg's family is cool. It's just, in the end, you kind of realize that, yeah, it doesn't really have that much impact. In that, Greg's family, I don't think means as much to us as, like, the audience as basically anyone in any way, like, related to Rose, like the whole gem section of things. Greg's family is just like, okay, he clearly left for some reasons and went on his own to pursue his music career. Here he is. He's kind of separated from his family, and I kind of realized, like, now I don't really need to know, or like I don't really care to know, like, the details about that, because for me the plot is once the gems came into play in their lives and go on from there. So I'm going to end the video there. In the comments, definitely let me know what your thoughts were on the episode. You know, as I said, I'm a little bit more critical on this one than I usually would be. If this was just an 11-minute episode that roughly did the same things, I don't think I'd be so critical, because it was just, you know, a 11-minute thing. That's fine to just devote to, you know, introducing a new family member for a Thanksgiving episode. But it's the fact that this is the double-length episode, another one, the second one after Bismuth, that really makes me kind of be a little bit more critical, that, like, what is this show trying to do here? What's the writing intent behind this? Why did you choose to double this one? So yeah, let me know your thoughts on that. I'll just end by saying links in the description to my Twitter and Tumblr if you want to follow me on social media, and links also in the description to my Patreon campaign and my PayPal donation link if you want to support my channel. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.